The Supremely Honorable Judge Derek Bogart presiding. All suspects are presumed guilty, unless I can find some excuse to let them walk. Above all else, I am the law! What do we have here? Envelope, which you'll see over the course of the game from time to time. Your Honor. Ah, well, thank you. I do consider myself pretty honorable. First of all, as the Ministry, we wish you success in your new position. We wanted to remind you of the details for making correct judgment. You can find the evidence in the evidence file in purple. At the same time, information whether there's digital evidence on the tablet. So we have a device. The case file in blue includes the content of the case and information on defendants, the people involved. Ask questions of the defendants by clicking on microphone. These questions will play an important role in deciding your case. Well, we'll see. On that tablet, access digital evidence such as camera footage or audio recordings. You can also access the recordings of your dialogue with defendants. The law book, looking pretty serious in red, contains the rules and penalties for crimes to make the right decision. Finally, you will make your decision. Remember, your decisions will have consequences. Making wrong decisions in law book cases will cause your bars to increase. The game can end even if your bars are not completely full. Ominous. Signed, the Ministry of Justice. Very good. So let's have a look at those bars. The cuffs. Possibility of arrest. The gun. Possibility of being assassinated. So, if you demonstrate incompetence, you could be imprisoned by the Ministry of Justice. And if you anger the criminal element enough, you could get murdered. Sounds pretty serious. And that's not all there is to worry about. You have your mental health, which declines if you fail to pay for domestic/family expenses. But you can prevent that through use of money when you get paid. Another use for money, you could hire the security guard, the boy in blue over here. Through this function, you can reduce the chance of being arrested or assassinated. And if all else fails, on the mental health front, you could always go out on the town and hit the other kind of bars. Here's the homestead. So what's new here? Well, wife and kids, and a cat. Might buy him something a little later. Got money. So it looks like we must have a TV, or at least used to. Remote control there. Some sort of newspaper or magazine, so somebody reads, that's good. Probably want to encourage the kids to read a bit. Bookcase over here, so I don't know if these are my old law school books or what that is, but maybe some novels. Whatever the family's into. Nice picture up the top there. What else? We got a calendar, which tells you where you are in the game chronologically. Week 1. No cases yet completed, but we're about to change that. Go outside. No real need to right now. That's for when your mental health needs some sort of maintenance. So we'll worry about that when the time comes. For now, we'll end the day. We'll say this is the evening before, first day on the job. Let's go. So what does our first case consist of? Well, we start left to right. Over here, evidence file, purple. Case does not contain any evidence files. So they're starting us off pretty simple. No evidence to have to sift through, make any kind of judgment on. Case file. So we have the name of the defendant, age, gender, fingerprint number, which is not relevant for this case because there's no evidence. But what is important is the charges. In this case, one charge, violation of restrictions. Going through the details. Apparently, it's a curfew violation. Somebody was out late at night, past the point that's considered safe, I presume. The police picked him up and positively identified him. Page 2, we get to hear or read a statement from the defendant. So apparently he wasn't feeling too well, thought that going outside would help him relax, and then panicked upon seeing the police, claiming he was scared. I can buy that. So normally what you do next is you would actually speak to him. We'll skip it though, because in this case he doesn't tell you anything you don't already know from the case file. So the Red Book of Law. So we consult that to see what the punishment would be. So on the left here, there's rules. It starts out pretty simple. Criminals must be given the sum of the sentences for their crimes. So pretty basic. But as the game goes on, this page will fill out. It'll become a little more complicated. You'll have more things you gotta factor in. So it gets a little tougher as you go along, which is fair. So you've got all these sections of the crime categories. What we're looking for here is public prosecution offenses. We'll get to them all eventually, so not going to go over them. So we see the first one they list is violation of restrictions. Sentence, if found guilty, is 6 months public service and a $1,000 fine. I'd like to look very closely at the number just to make sure I'm reading it right. I mean, if you're 1 0 off, that makes a big difference, right? And there's more serious crimes over here, which we may or may not get to. The point is the sentence for this particular crime, 6 months public service, $1,000 fine. Refer to the tablet. If there was any digital evidence, it would be here. Applications. You can get email. At some point, there will be messages there. Shop. You can buy cool stuff that I guess either appears on your desk or maybe at home. When you have money, we'll worry about this. As we mentioned, we might get something for the cat toy. And as I record this, it's the year of the horse for Chinese astrology, so that might be something to buy. And what else? Lastly, as I mentioned, if you want to review the conversation you had with the defendant or the accused or whomever, it will be there if you want to review it. So, it's time to render the judgment. What's his name again? Harris Kellen. Mr. Kellen, it seems to me that this is a pretty open and shut case on you, sir. While I sympathize that you may have been feeling ill, my finding is that the law was still broken, and I did not see any kind of health record. Anything of that nature would suggest that there's extenuating circumstances here, any reason to give you a pass. So, unfortunately, if everyone who committed a violation just gave some excuse and I just took it on good faith, when would there ever be accountability? And so, I feel I'm obliged to render the appropriate punishment according to law. 6 months public service, and it was a $1,000 fine. Is that right? Write in the comments if I've got it wrong. If I botched this right up front. $1,000 fine. 6 months public service. I believe it mentioned in the tutorial that you'll have to make some dice rolls to determine whether something horrible happens to you. Seems we're good. For now. News. Cracking down on repeat offenders. Increased penalty for criminal record. Fair enough. If it helps cut down on crime, so be it. I'll allow it. I'll allow it. So if we look at our bars up here, had we angered anybody with that previous judgment, it would be reflected in the percentages here. So apparently that judgment was fine. Evidence. Cocaine. Let's take a look at the case file. Drug possession. As we see in the charges top right. Mr. Sam McHale. So, what is new along the left? Criminal record. This guy's got one. So what are the implications of that? We head over to the law book and read law book matter 2 on the left side. Criminals with a criminal record should be given aggravated punishment for the crime. So if we go back to the previous case, for example, the curfew violator, who got 6 months and $1,000 fine, had he a criminal record, he would have gotten double the public service, 12 months, and more than double the fine, $2,500. You can return to, using the green bookmark here, you can return to the main page. The index. So we want the case file again. Put it on page 2, just have a chance to read that if you're curious. So as with case 1, it's pretty straightforward. The dialogue changes nothing. So I think we can safely go back to the law book to get an aggravated sentence for this guy, since he has the criminal record. Narcotics crimes this time. It's just the one. So normally, he might just get 10 months public service. But because he's got a criminal record, 18 months. And a $5,000 fine. Whew, apparently, say no to drugs, kids. This is where it leads you. And I think I can render the verdict here. Mr. McHale, while I appreciate your cool purple sweater, it looks very sharp. In fact, seems to me I might have one of my own buried around somewhere. Anyway, I see nothing to dispute your drug possession charge, so I can go ahead and pencil in the punishment. I believe it was 18 months. $5,000 fine. Being very careful about the number of zeros again. 5,000, right? Okay. 18 months, $5,000 fine. It's important to get it right because the game auto saves. So, heaven help you if you put an extra zero in there. You can't reload it, and when you do it, you're screwed. 18 months, $5,000. Okay, well, I guess the last word I have to say on this is, what was it that Michael Jordan once said in a public service announcement regarding drugs, drug use, etc.? Stop it. Get some help. Six out of 12 on getting shot. That's too close. You don't want to be halfway to getting shot. Well, were we wrong about that decision? Well, to wait till I'm back in court. That'll be pretty soon. Worried over nothing. The danger bars did not increase. 00. Hopefully it stays that way. So what's new? Down here in the bottom left. Evidence file is locked. Normally we have a purple folder there. What is up? Well, perhaps this envelope can shed some light on the subject. Bottom middle again. Your Honor, a lot of evidence is lost as a result of anarchist attacks on our state. In order to ensure the security of the evidence in the cases, we will deliver the evidence to you in a device we call Cryptex. Cool name. So basically an extra layer of security for sensitive material. Some bozo can't just breeze past and take a look. Alright. So let's take a look. So this is one of several puzzles the game throws at you to add extra challenge. And if you ever cannot solve it, you are stuck rendering a verdict without all the information. Wouldn't want to make a habit of that. In this case, it's one of the easier ones, just a simple matter of trying different combinations of left and right with these buttons. Just click on it to move it around. And after some trial and error, sooner or later, this light at the top right will become green. You hit the turn key, and away you go. So let's look at this evidence that was so important that it needed to be locked up. Steel rope. Yikes. Looks like a garrote wire to me. Used for strangulation. Oh, speaking of which, make a reference to the movie The Rookie. Fine film. With Clint Eastwood and Charlie Sheen. At some point, Charlie Sheen gets mixed up in a garroting incident. If you haven't seen the movie, good heavens, watch it, The Rookie. Also, red rose. Okay. Either the murderer was in love with the victim, or this is some kind of calling card by some sicko leaving a signature on their misdeed. So who the heck is implicated in this creepiness? Case file. He lacks a criminal record anyway. Middle-aged Tom Braxley charged with, hoo boy, assassination. Up here in the top right. Would be a pretty big first offense, guy. If you're guilty, of course. So what do we got? A corporate CEO was killed. Okay. Someone of significance. And the killer was even thorough enough to disable the security system. Sounds like a rather professional job. Perhaps even a collaboration? One person to cut security, another to carry out the kill? Maybe? Am I overthinking it? Well, for now it's just one dude. Tom was the only attendant present in the parking lot. So apparently he's an employee. What about page 3? He reported the scene to authorities, which suggests he probably didn't commit the crime himself. Sticking around would seem like a poor idea. Speaking with him, like with other cases, is just what we already know. Just a bit of flavor, perhaps. Well, he's the only suspect, but of course that doesn't make him guilty. Could just be the killer fled the scene and someone was going to find the body. So, in the absence of evidence that pins this guy to the crime, I can't, in clear conscience, convict, much as I might like to. But out of curiosity, what would the punishment have been? Let's go to the red law book. To the top. Homicide crimes. Here we are. Assassination. Over 60 years it would be in this case. In prison. And wow, looky there. Over a century behind bars with the criminal record. Essentially until death. Unless someone defies current lifespan expectations. Okay. Judgment. Mr. Braxley, as much as you do look guilty, and a prison uniform might suit you well, would seem you were just doing your job, so you shall be dismissed. Not guilty. But disconcerting. Apparently someone got away with murder. At least for now. Hopefully some detective has other leads to follow. In the meantime, and we seem to have a killer on the loose. Disturbing. Yay! What do we hear? Bank. Let's call up my notes here. What do I got written down? First time at the bank. Always withdraw all your money. Unless there's been some patch to fix this, I don't know. But when I played this game before and I tried leaving money behind, when I returned here, the account was empty. It didn't remember the balance. I don't know if it was a glitch or if I was supposed to have gotten stolen from. So, yeah. So here's the details. So I got paid apparently $600. And then we have a list of expenses here to drag the money down. The routine reason being alive, I guess. House rent, shopping, bills. These buttons mean nothing over here, right? Just double checking. Alright, so you have credit options here. Please wait. So if you ever need money, you don't have it, then you can go into debt. I don't ever plan to do this, but I assume you pay interest over time. That's the whole point, right? Someone's making money off it. So it's not my intention to do this. It's merely my intention to just give me all my money, get the heck out of here. Because I originally thought when I played this game, if you leave the money in the bank, maybe it accumulates a bit of interest. But, like I say, unless the game has been modified somehow, then, there doesn't, as far as I can tell, there doesn't seem to be any benefit to leaving money in your account. So, well, just take it and get the heck out. Go to the top right here to confirm that I do actually have my $100. Okay, that's it. As far as I can tell, balance 0. Okay, believe I'm done. First time returning home to expense. Notice the daughter there with the red cautionary kind of dialogue bubble. You'll need to click on her and find out what's up. But not yet. So this is a matter of mental health and money. Stress does not cease. End of work shift. The spouse or children sometimes have requests for things they want or even need. And if you don't cough up the cash, then you'll pay for it in another way in terms of your own happiness and stability. As your domestic life suffers because your family is discontent. Now, my advice is, if you can afford it, absolutely pay. Don't get mired in judgment calls. You'll probably regret it. Draw the line only at things that would send you into debt, basically, and have to borrow money. And of course, if mental health bottoms out, well, let's try not to think about that. It's basically giving up on life. Not ideal. So let's look at our first household expense. Your daughter asks you for $100 for her school fees. Do you accept? Your sanity will drop if you don't accept this. My sanity? That's pretty important. As you can see, I've only got $100. But as I say, pretty much have to pay. So basically, $100 take home after standard expenses, and then minus $100 for at-home expenses. And I'm back to being broke. Great.